Hi there, welcome to Reassembly Cuts. As you may know, not only do I do cabinet making and making weird and wonderful Wallace and Gromit machines in my in my little workshop, I also do antique furniture restoration as well. And every now and then in my line of work I get a lovely wee gem of a job that comes my way. I'd like to thank my client for bringing this little item to me. The reason why I like these little gems is because they can teach you so much. You can learn a lot about them, and that's what I like. That's what I enjoy doing. Here it is. It's a little jewellery box from Sorrento, and it's made of olive wood. And when my client first presented this to me, it was all in bits. The lid was off, hinges were bust, the velvet inside, the velvet lining, was all coming away. It was in tatters, badly glued in, and yeah, there was a bit of a rattle inside as well. Still is. More about that in a minute. Sorrento, yes, the box making company in Sorrento, I believe, is still going strong, has been since the 1800s. Not that this box was made back in the 1800s, but it's certainly very old. Like I said, it came to me in bits, and one thing we managed to figure out was that since the lid doesn't open, it's locked. How do you open it? Well, obviously there's a key, but my client said that she couldn't find the key. Yeah. But even if there was a key, where would you put it? Where would you put the key? Where's the keyhole? And I found out that if you move this forward, did you see that? And there's this middle one here, slides down. It's basically books, big book, and little books all the way along. And that's the keyhole there, but where was the key? Like I says, I learnt a lot from this. I found it all very interesting. And I'd like to share it with you, so I'll show you what happened with it.
So the first thing I did was to document the state of the box that it came to me in, simply by just taking photographs of it, just to illustrate the wear and tear of the box, and seeing that the finish is lifting off, and showing what was able to determine so far when it first came to me, which was that the middle spine of the little line of books would reveal the keyhole. You have to push the middle section forward in order to do that. The velvet inside, as you can see, is pretty much disappeared, and it was all loose and looking worse for wear. And you can see the hinges, the bands, have been stripped away from the pins of the other part of the hinge, which was still attached to the lid. And as you can see, the watermarks on the lid have lifted the polish off, and it's looking rather tatty and worse for wear. And there's also a split in the lid as well, which we'll have to be careful in clamping or gluing and clamping that back together again. And when you turn the lid over, you can just see that this corner piece, there is a piece missing. So now that we've determined what the problems are, we can now begin the work. And I thought to start off with was that I would take the hinges off and see if we can get them back together again. and I did this by hammering them out on a flatbed with a small pin hammer, because they are only tiny hinges, and gently persuade the straps back around the pins of the hinge. And this seemed to work quite well. I also had to use some fine nose pliers just to help them back round the pins, and as you can see, the one on the right tightened up quite nicely. The one on the left just needed a little bit more work. Here this is when I discovered that there was more to this box by taking the spine off the bottom base, and then suddenly realising that this end section here actually slid out. As you can see, this sliding section that held onto the spine was in two halves, so as you can see here, I had to glue that back together again, and just put the pins in and reattach it to the outside spine. And here was the cavity that it was hiding, and when I tipped the box up, behold the key. Once all that was established, I was then able to totally remove the middle section of the box, and this made it easier for me to start working and cleaning out the old glue and the velvet. This was just done with a chisel and some coarse sandpaper. The screws that held the hinges in had split away the timber and the edge of the box, so these had to be glued and clamped back in again. And as for this lid, well, as you can see, I had to be careful with repairing this, because usually a split is due to shrinkage or warpage, and if you were to glue that back together again and tighten it up, it could very well split somewhere else. So this was carefully prised open with a chisel and ran some glue inside, and then clamped it back together again, just taking care that I don't split that lid anywhere else. After that was left to dry overnight, I took all the clamps off and then saw about what we could do about the finish, and the only way I could get this right was basically to take off the old finish by lightly sanding with some very fine paper, just to prep the box up ready for polishing again. Here the corner section, well, I had to do an angle cut and replace it with a similar coloured piece of timber. The reason why an angle cut would be best is so that the piece that glues on has better purchase, has a better gluing surface to the box. And obviously making sure that the grain is run in the correct way, and this was basically planed and sanded flush so that it looked like part of the box, and just to touch it up a bit with a bit of stain would help it along to blend in. Usually it takes a lot of patience and requires a bit of time to get that right, so every now and then I'd have to keep coming back to it and making sure that that's looking right. In the meantime, the rest of the box was lightly sanded up with a bit of 320 grit paper, just to take off the old, basically scaling away or peeling away polish. And again, coming back to this again just to try and blend that piece in. So now the French polishing can begin, but before that... Oh, sorry. I've decided to edit this video without all the French polishing. I know some people have asked me to do a little demonstration about French polishing, but when I was editing this video I kind of realised that not everybody's going to be wanting to know that or be interested in that, and the video will be really long. So if you want to know about French polishing, go to this link here. Did you get that? If you didn't, it'll be posted under the YouTube clip, the link for it. So if you want to know how to do French polishing or know about French polishing, that'll be the video for it. This is purely just how this box was finished. Cheers. Okay, well, thanks for that, Ruben. So yes, if you are mildly interested in what French polishing is all about, or you wanting to get some hints as to having a go yourself, that would be the video link to show you how to do that. I hope it helps you out. In the meantime, back to the box. As you can see, I'm just brushing on with a small squirrel hair brush some pale polish, and basically what I'm doing there is sealing in the pen work that was had to be retouched in because it had faded away from the lid. So in order to seal that pen work back in, making sure that the polishing rubber doesn't take it off again, I'm just sealing some polish onto it. There's a better shot of what it is that I'm doing. Incidentally, the little white blotchy areas in that shot there, it is actually little pictures of house martins or swallows. That's a standard or traditional trademark, if you like, of the Sorrento box. It's quite common with them. However, the name Sorrento on the lid is not that well known. And so here starts the first coats of polish to all the surfaces that are seen on the box, on all parts of the box. So it's just gradually working the first coat of polish in. This does take quite a while to build up to a good shine and fill in all the grain. And yes, even the tiny fiddly bits have to be done. And boy, was that fiddly. Obviously cutting down or denibbing, as they call it, in between coats, just to make sure that that is nice and smooth. And here you can see that it's gradually all building up to a nice good shine, working that polish in there. So sometimes a shine can be too new or just too shiny for an antique, so a bit of dulling down with some steel wool is usually required. And here I'm just touching in some bits or some areas where polishing rubber is missed. Sometimes a bit of stain can be added just to colour in some areas, and a bit more dulling down around the box, because that is just too shiny, so we just need to cut that down just a little bit, and then a bit of wax is added. And that wax just to bring that shine back up again, but not too shiny but not too dull. It's just in between the two, it's just right. So we just apply some finishing wax to that. Just wipe off the excess there, and then start buffing it to a nice shine. Now then, that looks good, doesn't it? Look at that. It's come up well. Just what we need. Once all the finishing has been done, then the lining of the box with the velvet, the new velvet, that's another job in itself, and if anybody wants to know how to do that, just ask me and I'll make another video, it's not a problem. So we reattach all the parts back to the box, i.e. the lid and the hinges, and making sure that the lock lines up correctly. And sometimes with a lid that's been off a box for quite a while can get a little bit warped, so you may have to do a little bit of adjusting here and there. And there we have it. Time for a demonstration, I think. So the bottom spine just slides over, and the cross section, tilt it out, and behold, it's the key. There we go. Just close these up again. It is a little stiff, but move the middle section forward, bring down the middle spine, and there's the keyhole. Now the lock is quite old and temperamental, and then again it's like, what would you expect from an old lock? I didn't want to change the lock because the lock still worked, and we want to try and keep the box as authentic as possible. We don't want to put too many new parts in it. If a box is old and has old parts, we want to keep it old. Change everything to all being new. You might as well renovate the whole thing. But there you go, there's the lovely new velvet inside. So you want a closer look? There you go. There. Properly lined, nice green, fresh velvet, which did need replacing. And yep, this key, this lock is a bit temperamental, but when you work it out, you'll soon have it sussed. There we go. Just slide that back again, and yep, put the key back. Just put it in there. Oh, sorry, you want to see where it goes? Okay, that just turn that there, and it goes in there, like that. And there we have it. Finished. And what a lovely box that is. Nice grain, nice colour. I do like olive wood, and the finishes come out really well on that. That's it. Time for its close-up, I think.